So one thing that is interesting in life, and while we wait for people to join and be here today, is how we have become. Um, it's not reliable. The word is that we are so used to having internet and Wi-Fi in our life that yeah, when we don't have it, we realize how much we value it and how much impact it has on our life. So I think that is one thing that I realized in the last day, not having internet, how I have become not reliable. I don't know what's the word. Hilton, do you know what's the word? Ek het afhanklik, that's the Afrikaans word, that you become so used to it that you need it, that we sometimes are not used to it. So, okay, everyone, it's about 5 minutes to go. Hilton, yes, what's the word?
Reliant.
Reliant. Yeah, become reliant on internet. It just shows you how much of our business and everything is is reliant on all of these technologies, especially after now seeing as well, the world is becoming even more reliant, with someone like Elon Musk that is bringing it out, the Tesla bot, that's going to become more robotics, and you're going to become more reliant on this, So welcome, Elsa. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We're going to start in about 4 minutes. So just welcome and nice to have you here, Elsa. Okay. Hilton, while we're waiting, what is the biggest lesson for you that you are taking away from this lunchtime series that have happened in the last, every Thursday so far, we have had a session with you. And, what is one or two things that was a main learning for you in this last few weeks? We're going to start in about 4 minutes. So just, while we do have a chit chat, anything that stood out for you in the last few weeks on the lunchtime with Hilton?
Yeah, I think in all honesty, the thirst for knowledge and the request for reliable information that people can rely on. I think there's so much information out there on the internet for companies, but there's very little information available from individuals that actually have practical experience to what they do every day, and the tips and tricks that go into it. I think that's the big thing. It's the old story of we're all expected to pay tax, and if you had to pay the amount of tax that is expected by the government, you'd be working. All your money would be going to the government. So you need to find as many legal loopholes in the system to work around these things, and it's with everything. There's practical experiences that people have learned over the years that people are really willing to share with people starting off in their businesses, or people in established businesses that just haven't thought of that. And if you can get all that information together and you can utilize it and learn by other people's mistakes, life becomes a lot easier.
Definitely. I just want to welcome for David. Nice to see you here, David, Amanda, Heinrich, everyone is joining. For those who are on Facebook, LinkedIn, watching live, welcome. All great to have all of you here. And we're looking forward to learning from Hilton. So Hilton, and just short as we started, it's 12 o'clock. So Hilton is the CEO of Compliance Hub, direct companies. Most of the companies focusing on compliance, BEE, HR, etc. And I believe Hilton will share with you a little bit as well. But Hilton comes out of experience where he used to work in corporate, running up big companies as a sales manager, area manager, director, etc. And he brings a lifetime of knowledge with him, and he has a passion for small entrepreneurs and businesses. When I met Hilton about a few years ago, we started and went on a journey where, first and foremost was on his company to grow. But I think also one thing that stood out for me from someone like Hilton, and especially when I do dealings, is the relationships. It's building about relationships and the importance of having relationships, not as individuals, but as business owners. I think one thing, I was visiting Hilton yesterday, I think one thing of importance is that we need to have that thirst for knowledge. We need to keep on learning and growing. We find that so many small businesses owners doesn't have all of the knowledge that is needed to be, to grow their businesses. They're sometimes stuck in a situation, and I think this is a reason why we started the Lunchtime series, was just to create knowledge out there and some tips and tools for people to grow their businesses. You know, in the next few series, we're going to talk about Poppy, we're going to talk about HR in your business, and me and Hilton is the week after next week, we're going to have a conversation about businesses in today, how to grow yourself. So, you know, today is something different again. It's also something that big businesses need to look at. Also, if you're starting a business, maybe aware of learning from Hilton how to generate more business. So we're talking about today skills and BBEE, recruit, train, and upskilling yourself. So I'm looking forward to learning from Hilton today. Thank you for everyone that's here. If you have any questions, you're welcome to pop it in. It's not a long session. Hilton likes to keep it short. And, you know, usually if there's questions, you're welcome to ask at the end. We suggest that, you know, if you want to have a conversation with Hilton, you know, reach out to him, connect with him. And, you know, he's more than willing to be connecting with you as well. And yeah, I think Hilton, thank you for being here as well. Thank you for your time. We're looking forward to learning from you. And then, before I go, everyone that is watching Facebook and so on, reach out. We're going to launch all of these recordings soon on an online platform where you can go relook at it. You can get access to the PowerPoint slides. You can refresh yourself. So it is important to be able to do that. Okay. Okay, Hilton, are you almost ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
Are you allowing me to share?
You are sharing already. So I don't know if you want to stop and restart the share again, because we're just seeing your desktop. Let me
a second. I'm getting there.
Nothing yet.
Should be there.
No, let me stop your sharing. Okay, and then just start again, and then we should be able to ready to go.
Are we on?
There's something happening. You can just now play the slide.
Having any luck with us?
Well, we still see your slide. If you maybe can just, for some reason, it doesn't want to play the full one, display setting, when you played like a previous time. So I don't know. What you can do is you can then, if need be, you
press
can
from current slide. There.
save. Oh, okay. Thank you, Elsa.
It might not.
Yeah, for some reason, it doesn't want to play that way. Hilton, what you can do is maybe just make the slide bar smaller, and but because we can still see your main slide, you know, we can do that.
I have no idea what you just told me to do. Sorry.
Oh, okay. What I can ask you, say that.
Yes, press resume slideshow.
Yeah.
Got it now.
Now try again. Try pressing slideshow again. Okay, click on that. No, up at the top. Up at the top where you were. There.
Okay. Let's try.
Then from current slide. No, it's not working.
Yeah, for some reason, let me. So what I suggest, Hilton, we can definitely go through the slideshow like this, because if you move the slideshow down to the next slide, yeah, so it does move. You can at least go through the slides. So we can do it this way. Yeah, you can drag that side smaller.
Yeah.
Does that? We can do it that way.
There we go.
Yeah, so let's do it this way. For some, you know, it's like my internet doesn't work, and today the slideshow doesn't want to play with us. But you know, that's part of being an entrepreneur. So over to you.
Because in all fairness, between you and I, it's the blind leading the blind. Let's be honest.
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for attending today, and I hope you're going to get value. If you need to, any questions or anything, please feel free to interrupt. Cobus, you're going to watch the chat line and just shout and cut in as we go. So skills is a difficult subject to talk about, simply because I don't know our audience and I don't know the customers that we've got or the viewers that we've got, how big your companies are, what your needs really are, what you have to do in your company, whether it's for BEE or it's simply to get your staff up to a different level. But what is the biggest challenge that we have in South Africa? And these are old stats. These aren't the latest stats that are somewhat questionable that Stats SA have just put out. But the estimate is that there's 2 million adults in South Africa that have had no schooling. Millions more have had adequate schooling. And we know about the guys sitting under trees and in township, in mud huts under the trees. I attended a school out in Hammanskraal 2 years ago. And it was absolutely shocking. These poor kids had nothing. They didn't have rulers, they didn't have pencils, some of them still worked on slates. And you look at this and you just wonder what the future of these poor kids is going ahead. And now you want to take those kids and you want to bring them back into your workplace and give them a meaningful future within your company. It becomes really, really difficult. So we know that there's 18 million kids in this country that have not completed school. 500,000 kids drop out of school every year. And when you start equating those numbers over a 10-year period or a 20-year period, it becomes meaningful. 25% of the economically active people in South Africa are unemployed, and only 2% of the population have firmly established a small business, compared with a worldwide average of 8%. So we have challenges within the workplace, we have challenges within the socioeconomic as far as the country is concerned, and it's a responsibility that we have as business owners within the country to try and make a difference. So if you're making a difference to one person's life, the impact is going to be directly on 6 people's lives within your company. So the small business entrepreneur and the medium business entrepreneur is the guy that really makes a difference within the country and can fix the rights moving forward to give people an opportunity. So what frustrates me the most is how many companies in this country are not registered with the CETA. And it's purely due to the ignorance around it and the lack of marketing ability of the CETAs to get companies. You don't have to register if you're a small company, but you pay your SDL, your skills development levy every month. That money is your money that lies with the CETA. It's controlled money, and if you're training staff, you can claim back a lot of that money. So it's crazy not to participate in it. It's absolutely crazy. So there are 21 CETAs in South Africa. Each one manages and creates learnerships, skill-based programs, internships in its sector. Every industry and job in the country is covered by one of the 21 CETAs. And the first complication that as a business owner is which CETA do I belong to? Now, we get a lot of companies that are registered with the incorrect CETAs, and when it gets to scarce skills training, the CETAs vary in their scarce skills requirements, and as a result of that, you might not get back your discretionary training allowance from the CETAs. So you need to ensure that your CETAs are correct and that you are registered with the correct CETAs. And there's just an indication of some of the CETAs that are pulled up just to give you an idea with it. But let's have a look at what happens to actual money flow. So as a percentage, your organization has to submit on an annual basis a WSP, which is a workplace skills plan, before the 30th of April every year. Now, you can't miss that deadline. If you miss that deadline, you're not going to get your money back for the year. That WSP, approved WSP from the CETA, is actually what qualifies you for a BE certification. If you do not have that qualification, if you do not have that accepted registration of your plan from the CETA, you cannot earn skills points on your BE certificate, and that's a problem. So CETA retains 10% for the administration process of it, which goes to the National Skills Fund, and SARS controls 80% of that, and it's allocated 20% of that again to the National Skills Fund. If you have a look at what's left in the pot, and this is where your company comes in. So you have your internal training and you have accredited training provider. Internal training is the training you would do on a daily basis with your staff, and normally along the lines of on-the-job training. If you're doing it for BE purposes, only 15% of that skill spend of your actual cost can count towards your skill spend with BE. But a lot of companies do a lot of in-house training and non-accredited training to bring their guys up to speed, but lack the proof, the portfolio of evidence required at the end of the period to claim those skills points. So you would need attendance registers, and you would need topics that have been discussed, and you would need sign off by your individual that he's actually attended or she's attended that training and that something has happened, and you've got a record of that portfolio for your verification. Two things that we see companies don't do is claiming back their CETA allowance. So it's a simple process to claim back, and your SDL, it's clearly spelled out in the process. It's easy and it's there, and you should get back. The word is should get back that percentage. The big one that companies also don't claim is the H12 and the ETI. So the ETI is your youth incentive to employ people under the age of 27, and you get back about R1,000 a month off what you owe SARS. You get that back automatically. The H12 is an incentive that has been put together by the government for registered training on learnerships, where you can get back a whack of money. And I'll take you through some examples on that now. So let's have a look at it. So I've given you an example here, just as a big company, and you can play around with these numbers. So if a company's skills target is 6% of the SDL, of the Skills Development Levy that you are paying, in this case it will work out at an amount of R252,000 that a company needs to pay in a year to achieve 8 points on their BE certification. Learnerships, you get two forms of learnerships. You get the employed and you get the unemployed. And in this case, this company would need 4 employed and 4 unemployed. So you see you end up with two targets. You end up with one on head count and you end up on one on monetary value of spend. Placement of the learnerships, you get 5 points. And then cash flow implications. So you're expected to spend an amount of R252,000 in this. 20% of the SDL mandatory grant that you can claim back from CETA, in this case, would amount to of R8,400. 49.5% of the discretionary allowance that you can claim back, if you can justify, and your portfolio of evidence is correct, would be another amount of R20,832. Your return on your skills levy would be another 29,000, but there you've got to have both your pivotal plan covering of scarce skills within a company, and that's what I mentioned earlier with your CETA listing, your CETA registration. They have a specific list of scarce skills that need to be covered. If you've identified and covered that, and there's no limitation or maximum amount of money that you need to spend on the scarce skills, all they talk about is that you have addressed it. So in this case, if you had 8 learners, 8 staff members that you needed to train, and you trained one of them on a scarce skill which is specific to your CETA, you tick the box. Your tax break on that would be 28% of the tax bill that you would owe. You simply reduce that on your monthly submission. It would be another R182,000. So your total return would be R211,323. So you had a target of 252,000. You've actually only laid out 40,768 Rand. So if you're taking advantage of all the incentives that are made available to you via the CETAs and the H12 and the ETI, you can reduce your skills spend substantially. But it is a cash flow implication on your company, and there is the gamble with the CETA. The only guarantee you've got is the H12 and the ETI. So in this case, as this example, we've spent 41,000 and we've been accredited with 252,000 Rand worth of skills. So how is that possible? Under the skills element, if you are paying somebody a salary, and that person is on a learnership for a 12-month period, the salary contributes towards your skills spend. So if it is a learner that is earning 3,000 Rand a month on an unemployed learnership, it would be 3,000 times 12 months, which would be 36,000 Rand. Your learnership would cost you 30, 40, 50,000 Rand, depending on the qualification and the level, the NQF level of it. You would add that together, and that would all count towards your skills spend. So you can reduce your skills spend substantially by doing it and take advantage of the incentives. What are the objectives? One of the biggest challenges companies face is recruiting learners that will complete their one-year learnership. And why do I say that? So let's take a guy from a rural area that has never been exposed to the marketplace, to the real market, or to a factory or head office environment. You're now taking that individual and you're putting them into a formalized workplace. First problem you're going to have is language. Second problem is the ethics and the culture within a company. So we in our companies here take advantage quite heavily of learnerships. And I've had people in here that have used we've got an automatic coffee machine that you just press a button, and there is sugar all over the place, there's sugar on the floor, there's milk messed all over the place. And I made a fatal mistake of asking one of the ladies, would you do this in your kitchen at home? And she looked at me very sheepishly and said, I don't have a kitchen at home. Now, I expected that somebody entering a full marketplace, a formalized marketplace that could come in would know these things. And you suddenly realize this great divide between the informal market and the formal market. So what we've done is, ever since then, we do what is called a learner readiness test. And with the learner readiness test, we identify the needs of pupils, of potential staff members, how they're going to fit in, and what we can do with them moving forward. And based on that, we do short courses of filling in those requirements. So you wouldn't come and eat at your desk a tin of tuna fish or a tin of, sardines, and the whole office would then smell of sardines. You wouldn't put your phone on speaker and have a long conversation with your family member and embarrass or interrupt everybody around you. And those little things are the things that allow these guys and girls to move on in life and then focus on the business and focus on their learnership. Learnership traditionally is about 2.5 hours a week on your premises or at a central point, depending on how many students you've got. And the rest of the time, you're entitled to use that student for practical workplace experience to get the best advantage. So often I'll go to a company and they'll say, well, we're in a highly specialized area and we don't have place for learnerships. I say, what about a secretary? What about an additional filing clerk? Would you like a secretary? And they'll say, yeah, of course, I'd love a secretary. I don't have a secretary. He said, well, okay, let's look at it. Are you prepared to pay that student 3,500 Rand a month on a learnership to give them 12 months work experience? They'd say yes. Are you prepared to pay for training for that person to get them into the market? They'd say yes. And at the end of the 12-month period, you can identify whether you want to keep the person or you part ways with that person, and you can re-employ if the person hasn't fitted in with the requirements of your company and the culture of your company. And suddenly the penny drops, and people start looking at it and saying, wow, that's a great example. This is what we need to do. So we would go off to one of the secretarial colleges. We would identify 3 or 4 people there that qualified the year before, take them across the company, let them have an interview, see if there's a match between the company's culture and that individual, and whether that individual actually wants to go on the learnership in that company, and then develop them over a 12-month period to become part of that company and to have a meaningful future. So you can source learners, undertake a range of assessments to verify the ability of the students against the course requirements, and handle the administration for you. We have means to do that all for you. Let's have a look at where the costs come in. So course cost would be in the region of 50,000 Rand, which would include sourcing of that individual. It would include testing that individual to see that that individual actually is capable of meeting the requirements of the course. A stipend for a year would cost in the region of 30,000 Rand. So that would be a total cost to a company of 80,000 Rand in a year, which is your cash flow. The saving would be your S12, S11, 22,400. Your S12, which would be 33,600. Your youth wage services of 12,000. So that would give you a total of 68,000 per learner. So in real terms, your net cost to the company is 12,000 Rand, 1,000 Rand a month. Then you've still got the CETA grants. Now, I don't put the CETA grants in because the CETAs are a disaster. The CETAs are upside down. They change their systems on a regular basis. COVID has played havoc with them. A lot of them are in administration. I don't look at that as an income. If you get that, that is going to be a bonus towards your company. But far too often we've included the CETA allowances and then you don't get the CETA allowances and we get hung on it and said, but you promised. I can't promise you that. And anybody that can is going to be lying to you. So the benefits of a learner and an intern and an employee, determine the skills gap in your organization. Where are the opportunities and where could you fill in with people to claim your skills points? Identify people who do not have qualifications and enroll them. Formal qualifications that are related to their work, cost of their training can be claimed back from the CETAs, cost of their training can be claimed as your BE spend, and your salary and wage costs can be claimed back as part of your BE spend. In an unemployed learner, that is somebody that you would employ on a learnership and you would outsource them to another company, you get extra hands at no cost. The CETAs pay for both the stipend and the qualifications. They're focused on youth and previously disadvantaged is no cost. Only contracted for a 12-month period with no further obligations, and short courses that count towards the qualification also qualify. And then you've got to look for absorption at the end of the period for your bonus points. So what am I referring to here? I'm referring to discretionary training that the CETAs have. So a lot of the guys participating today will not be registered with the CETA. So the STL that they pay every single month gets accumulated by the CETA, and that amounts to, in some cases, billions or hundreds of millions of rands that a CETA has got for training in a year. They then go out for this discretionary training and they will publish that on their websites that we have discretionary training available. Please apply for discretionary training. And in that case, they would make available vouchers for training institutions of your choice. And they would say, you've qualified for 10 learners. You applied for 10 learners. We've given you 10 learners. Here's the training for those 10 learners. That amount of money, if it was 10 and you're looking at 50,000 Rand, that 500,000 Rand, even though you haven't spent it, you can claim it towards your skills spent. So you immediately tick off your big box, and now you start claiming the ETI back from it, and you claim back the H12 on that. You end up making money of that, out of that student. And often what companies do is the money that they make, the fact that they make out of that, they reinvest in the skills budget for staff in the company, on further training, on team building, on motivation, on all those, all the nice to haves that we never do within a company. But it's really important in a company to, people leave companies because of a lack of training. People don't leave a company because you're forcing them to be trained. People are hungry for training and want to move forward in life. So you need to look at that opportunity and say, if I'm educating my staff, I'm going to be getting more out of this staff. And if the staff is going to be giving more to me, it means at the end of the day, I make more out of the net. Now, learnerships get a bad rap in the marketplace for the simple reason that a lot of times the learner readiness tests aren't done. And we're getting students in for BE purposes to get the BE points. We're not getting them in for the benefit of the company and the benefit of the learner. Excuse me. I'm drying out. I need coffee. Excuse me. So if you go in with the right attitude of saying that this is what I need in my company, and these are the skills I need, and it can be considered towards my BE points if I need them, or I can take advantage of the discretionary training allowances from the CETA. Why would you not do it? It doesn't make sense. So I just put up a couple of photos here to give you an idea. These are some of the learnerships that we have run in the past that is running. This is Start a Business. It's an academy that we do down in the South Coast for the poorest of the poor people. And this is the typical environment that they would come into, and they would be trained over a 12-month period. It's meant to be 2.5 hours a week, but these guys end up sitting there for 2 or 3 days a week because of their hunger and their thirst to get into the job market and actually get out into the marketplace. We also do another one which has been highly successful, and this is for a legal company called Clyde & Co. And they identified down the South Coast that a lot of people will never have the money to visit a local doctor. And when they get sick, they literally die because they don't have the taxi fee to get into town. So we did this home care nursing where these guys walk around in their white home care jackets. We've actually branded them now under Clyde & Co. And they have become the home nurses in their communities. And they do dressings, they stop bleeding, they ensure medication is taken by the patients, they do blood pressure on their patients, they do basic hygiene of them, and they've been a great help for the local communities with COVID breaking out down the South Coast. And it is absolutely amazing when you drive with these guys in a vehicle, how the local communities absolutely worship these guys. These are their saviors. And there's nothing preventing this happening within your rural area or within your urban area if you want to use it as a branding exercise to really make a difference out in the marketplace. It's all there. It can be done. And the CETAs can contribute towards it. The government will contribute towards it. You've just got to get your package correct. And that is 26 minutes gone. I've gone through it very, very briefly. I have a lot more in-depth ones training slides that I can take you through, but because of the audience and my lack of knowledge of who's looking for what, it's very, very difficult to try and create a tailor-made presentation that suits everybody. Are there any questions? Any clarity required?
Hilton, I just see there's 1 or 2 things in the chat box. So I'm just going to read it out. Says, what happens if your company is not registered on the correct CETA? How do you go about correcting this? And then I just see Sally said you had to do an inter-CETA transfer. Is that something you would suggest as well?
Absolutely. Now, your complication with an first of all, yes, you will need to do an inter-CETA transfer. You absolutely will. But timing is going to be everything. So you don't want to do that at the start of your verification process, which will hold back your learnerships. And what am I meaning by that? If you look at it, you've got 12 months of a learnership to claim the maximum points within your company. So if you start with your application in month 1, you're going to lose 3, 4, 5, 6 months worth of salary contribution because your learnership will not have been approved by a CETA. So get your learnership approved first and then do your inter-CETA transfer so that you don't lose out within your company. Your SDF, your Skills Development Facilitator, has to get hold of the CETA. You have to resign from the one CETA and get re-registered with another CETA, but both processes run together at the same time.
Right, thank you. Then there was just a few comments on that as well. Do you do SARS e-filing on the RAV under tax credits? I think you just answered that. It's basically on the same question, and then Shirley just responded on that as well. And then Elsa said, thank you, very insightful. I have to leave now, but I will look forward to rewatching the recording. And yeah, Janine says, thank you, Hilton. I have to go as well. Is there anyone that would like to add something or just ask questions? You have the unmute button is open, so you're welcome to unmute yourself if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to ask you also, you're most welcome to reach out to Hilton. I'm going to put Compliance Hub's website address in the chat box where you can reach out to Hilton. How does a company benefit from skills programs?
Surely I can answer you that. I mean, I don't know, what is the nature of your company? What do you actually do in your company?
Shirley, you're most welcome to open your mic if you want to conversate with Hilton.
Okay, so I'm going to answer it in a generic term, Shirley. If you look at any company, there is always a need for improved skills within a company. There's always a need. Nobody knows everything, and the more qualified your staff are, the more chance your staff have got of pushing their managers up a level to become more competent in the marketplace. So anybody that doesn't believe in skills needs to relook their skills. If you have a staff member that is an assistant debtors clerk, okay, I'll use an example. We do a big transport company, and we took the transport company and we took their driver's assistants, and we put the driver's assistants on a customer relationship management learnership for a 12-month period. They've been going for about 8 months, and I got a phone call from the MD at that stage, who said to me, "You've got half an hour, get to my office." And he flung the phone down. And he was a big guy. He would have beaten the hell out of me. And I went across and I saw him and I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Talk to me about the learnership you put my people on." I said, "Your assistants drivers?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "What is it?" I said, "It's customer relationship management." So the driver and the assistant driver arrive at Pick n Pay or ShopRite checkers, and they all stand with that proof of delivery in their hand, and they wave it around trying to catch somebody's attention. That poor receiving manager sees 300-400 trucks a day, and everybody's on his case trying to get their delivery in and out. For the first time, these guys arrived at the back door and they said, Mr. Receiving Manager, I'm from X company, I have a delivery, I've got 4 pallets to deliver. Can you give me more or less a time that will be ready?" And the first week it was a case of get in the queue and we'll call you. The second week it was a case of, I think you're number 4 in the queue. The third week it was a case of, please come to the front of the queue. They won ShopRite Checkers Delivery Company of the Year. Their returns went down dramatically. Their proof of deliveries, for the first time these guys understood that a proof of delivery at a back door had to be stamped with a legible stamp. It had to be signed, and I had to have it in a duplicate copy. And that had to go back to the company so that the company could complete their proof of delivery to invoice the company for their payment. Now, ShopRite Checkers is notorious for stalling on payment. And their payment stalling always comes in due to that proof of delivery or the returns on damaged stock that comes in. Because the guys at the back door, for the first time, understood what happened to this piece of paper, they won Supplier of the Year. Their returns shot down to less than 0.2%, and their turnaround time decreased by 80%. And when you're doing walls and wheels, that's a massive amount of money for a company. That was simply through the skills development that they put guys on to understand their process. So that's the experience that you need to do.
Okay, Hilton, sorry, I can see Quipus has unmuted me. From Hi, how are you?
Very well, thanks, Shirley.
Well,
Welcome.
good. Well, thank you. What I want to know from a BE point, do skills programs contribute? Because you remember, a lot of clients want their BE points, they want their brownie points. How does skills programs, because we know learnerships are money for JAB, but how do skills programs benefit from that aspect?
I'm not fully understanding, Shirley. Just tell me what you're asking. Sorry.
Okay, learnerships carry a nice big fat BE contribution. Okay,
yes.
Where skills programs, is a snapshot of a learnership.
Correct.
They're just a small cluster. How do skills program training contribute to the BE point system?
So what we would find is a lot of companies would use that short-term training, the interim training would contribute 15% of the value of that training towards your BE spend. So let's assume you're spending 100,000 Rand a year on internal training. Out of that 100,000 Rand, you would only be able to reflect 15,000 Rand, 15% of that towards your skills spend. And that's the problem.
Even if it's accredited training, even if it's accredited,
okay.
No, I'm talking about credit bearing.
So Rand for Rand, same as a learnership.
Okay.
But you would not be able to contribute. You would not be able to reflect the salary portion then.
Okay.
On short courses. But we do find, Shirley, to be absolutely honest with you, short courses carry a huge amount of intellectual clout within individuals. We find that short courses, and I've personally spent huge amounts of money with Quibus over the years on short courses and motivations and team building and things like that with him on staff, and the return has been phenomenal compared to putting somebody on a learnership. Learnership, a lot of times, yes, contributes a lot of money towards the skills spend, and it's easy points, it's money for jab. But your short course is impactful, it's meaningful, and if that is linked in with an internal mentorship program within a company, you get by far bigger value for your company out of it, by far bigger. Because it's repetitive. You know, I trained you how to do this, let's measure you. A month later, let's see where you're going. A month later, where are you going? And then you move on to another subject. Get tremendous value out of that for your company.
Thank you very much, Shirley. I appreciate that. Yeah, so thank you for that feedback, Hilton. It's good to know. I think, you know, as long as it has an impact on your company, and so it's good to know that it had an impact. And Shirley, I just want to ask you, thank you for also asking a question and participating. Shirley is also part, we've come a long way as well. So I'm glad that you and Hilton can connect, and hopefully, you know, maybe reach out to each other. You know, you have something maybe you can offer to Hilton and Hilton to you. That would always be good to collaborate. I think during this time is to find people how we can collaborate. Yes, Hilton, you want to say something?
No, willing to, always willing to, Shirley, anytime.
Okay, everyone. If there's no other questions, I just want to thank Hilton. Well, Herman says, I'm a freelance SDF and would really appreciate to connect and discuss. Yes, Herman, you're more than welcome. I'm just going to put the website link in here as well. So feel free to contact Hilton. Go to the website, also subscribe to their newsletter. Like them on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and you know, do that. So thank you for that, Herman. Thank you much, Hilton, from Amanda. So Hilton, thank you for your time again today. Next week we are having a break for everyone, so that everyone knows. The week after that, me and Hilton is going to have a conversation about business, about you know, how to survive as a business owner during this time, and just conversate about history and past, and what were some of Hilton's successes over the past few years. Then the week after that, we're going to look at talking about with Hilton's one assistant that works for him about the Poppy Act, and then the week after that, hopefully about HR, etc. So we have a few things that's coming up that we're going to talk about how to improve your business, and feel free to ask questions and participate and invite your friends. And thank you again, Hilton. Any last thoughts from your side, Hilton?
No, get out there, don't give up, make it happen. A lot of business out there. There's a lot of business out there.
I agree, and sometimes we appreciate you as well. Like Hilton said, there is business, but sometimes we just need to sit back, listen, ask the right questions, and innovate during this time. Shirley, I'm looking forward to your new business idea. So the opportunities are there, but I will have a conversation with you. Helen says, thank you, Quibus and Hilton, for an informative session. Pleasure, Helen. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Afternoon.
Thanks so much. Ciao.